Welcome to the Therapist HQ, your weekly pep talk for private practice pros. Let's dive in.
Hello, and welcome back to the Therapist HQ podcast, your weekly private practice pep talk. My name is Alicia Murray, and as always, I am so glad you're here. I am so fortunate and lucky and excited to be joined by Natalia Maganda, who, if you have ever been on the Therapist HQ website, she is the brains behind the entire operation of it. She is the founder of a boutique agency that builds websites and local SEO management built to book cash pay clients while therapists are out living their lives. She has spent years watching brilliant clinicians disappear behind websites that do not match the depth of their work. And so she has built a system that fixes that. And today she manages over 20 therapists and group practice owners' websites and helps them build online visibility and authority without the marketing burnout, which is everything that we talk about here. So Natalia, welcome.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you for sharing a little bit about my work. But yeah, that's in a nutshell what I do.
Amazing. So I want to dive right in to something that I think is also super topical right now when it comes to websites, which is AI, because you mentioned that your personal site gets found, I think the majority of the time through AI searches. So just sharing a little bit about like when you started to notice that shift and maybe the connection between this like old fashioned idea we have of SEO and how that's kind of moving into these AI searches.
Yeah, for sure. I love this. I mean, I can talk about AI for like an entire day. A lot of things around AI. I'm currently obsessed with, but I think that like in a general landscape, SEO is evolving, but not dramatically, because I also see that there's like a lot of people saying SEO is dead, and like, no, SEO is not dead. And SEO is like the hardcore architecture that any site needs for AI to be able to find it. And that's how I like to see it. So I remember that when ChatGPT launched a couple of years ago, I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, right? I was hesitant to start using it at first. I was like, I love the idea of like writing copy with it, but like I don't want to like replace my human skills with it. But I started playing around with it, me and Sophie, which is like my right hand for everything that we do. And we started like creating content with blogs. We started creating blogs with ChatGPT and everything, but we started to like continue using our plain boring SEO best practices. And what I did when I decided to like really anchor in the therapist niche and like niche down my own business to only serve therapists, I really wanted to like make my entire site be very like robust in terms of marketing for therapists. So I like to explain this example because if people are not familiar with like the topic, topical authority, like the term topical authority, that's what you want for AI to like understand what your expertise is about. So that's what I started doing for my own website. And like I went really hardcore blogging, like really, really in volume. Like I think I did like 80 blogs in a year, and I repeated that like the second year a little bit more. It was like I didn't really do the same consistent, monthly rhythm that I do for clients, because when you're a business owner, you sort of put your own things on the back burner. So I did like a lot of blogs in a big bunch when I had free time, and then I like would leave my website. And then when I had another chunk of free time, I would do like a lot of blogs. But what I did see is that after like a really hardcore year of heavily investing in blogging only for marketing for therapists, it was like a snowball effect in year 2 when I started to get like inquiries from people who were like telling me that they found me through ChatGPT or through Claude. And it was really interesting because I think there's also a difference in terms of SEO that we can talk a little bit more in depth about this later, of local SEO and like more generic SEO. So my website, because I'm a website designer and I'm not based specifically like in a city. I mean, I'm in Mexico, but I don't have like a physical office where I have people come in like some practices do and stuff like that. So I sort of compete with like anyone who wants to rank with web design in the universe of Google. But by anchoring my site to, web design for therapists and only blogging about that, Google really started to like understand that I was like the expert in that, and the AI tools started recommending me. And I think that that's the snowball effect that can happen with any type of website when they decide to like go all in on one niche. And then once you start seeing that gaining traction, then you pivot your strategy to like blog a little bit more around another topic. And that's sort of the approach that I like to use, because it's funny that maybe sometimes you might find yourself frustrated that like I'm not on page one. And that happens even currently with my website, but still, I mean, there's data that consistently, like year after year, most of my leads come from AI. So, I mean, I don't obsess about not having massive traffic growth or massive, perfect page one rankings, because my website is doing its job to have like the core structure that these AI tools need to understand. And so I'm being referenced. So that's sort of a little bit of how I like to see it.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I love how you mentioned niching. So how important, because you work with a lot of therapists right now, how important is it for the therapist to have this established clear niche? Are they able to establish this topical authority if maybe it's a group practice or they have a sort of like wider net of clients that they're seeing?
Yeah. So this is obviously like a dilemma that I think a lot of therapists have, and you work with them as well in terms of niching down, because everybody has the identity crisis. Like, I don't want to push people away. I don't want like, I can do therapy for men, so I don't just want to speak to women. That's like the conversation that I have like with 9 out of 10 of my clients. And I think that niching down will serve you like really good in the long run. And it's really about picking the niche that's like the niche that you're passionate about working with, but that's also that has like decent search volume, right? So I think that it is very important to niche down and to decide where you want to start. But it doesn't mean that like if you are niching down, I don't know, to postpartum depression, like you're going to blog about that for like 5 years. I mean, it can be the starting point, right? Like, okay, I want to talk to women. Let's talk about postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, postpartum topics. And then once I start seeing that that's getting traction, then maybe I can like, expand and start talking more about my other approaches, somatic therapy, EMDR or whatever, right? So I think as group practices as well, that they often have clinicians with different expertise. It's always a good exercise to ask yourself what you want to represent as a brand, right? And like sometimes I've had cases where some group practices specialize more like in therapy for children and for families. So that's where we build, the brand strategy, the brand messaging, and the SEO strategy is anchored to that because that's the priority as a business owner. Other group practices can specialize more in like therapy for women, right? Or maybe counseling for couples or things like that. But I think that like the sea of opportunities of like traffic for people looking for therapy is immense. And you can just really decide like as a business owner, I'm going to take ownership in this decision that I'm niching down. And I am aware that like maybe my SEO efforts are going to go in that direction, but that doesn't mean that your website's not going to serve you as, a business card for when people also refer you other type of clients. You can still list out other specialties that you're not necessarily marketing heavily to and still take on clients that are not specifically in your niche. But when you build a brand that does have that authentic voice, you do become more of that perfect match for someone who's looking for someone who specifically does what you're saying you do. Because I think that there's like a lot of practices that are generalists, but like if you're a client and you put yourself in the client's shoes and you're going to look for couples therapy, you're probably going to prefer someone who on their website says, we're experts in couples therapy, and you see transformation stories of how love stories evolved or how people were able to love themselves without having a partner. And that type of messaging always will convert better because you're speaking directly to like the emotional pain points that couples therapy does. Same thing with, postpartum depression or with someone who's really struggling with a kid that has autism. And so when you speak to those desires, it really makes a different impact on the reader. I've seen it with like all of the work that we do. And even with my own website, people always compliment me and tell me like, I really preferred working with you because you're a therapist. You're not a therapist. You're a web designer specifically for therapists. So I feel like you get me. And I think that that's the point in how you want to position yourself.
It reminds me so much, as you say that, of like content pillars for social media, of like you should have these buckets that you're drawing from, but like you can post outside of them and you can like do things outside of them. Whereas like I think a lot of folks get tripped up on like, what am I writing my blogs about? And I think having like your niche and this sort of general area around your niche of like educating around it, experiences, validating it, gives you such good direction to create those blogs. And you can still have the outliers, I think is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, exactly. Like it gives you a sense of direction as well. And so that you're not also caught in the trap of like overthinking and not knowing how to market yourself and what to write about. It's like, okay, I decided I'm going to market, to this niche. So I have to talk about what's important to this niche and I don't have to overthink my content anymore. It helps in so many ways, but also in the conversion part that we were talking about, like in really making people feel seen through your website and understanding that you are the perfect fit because you're the exact match that they're looking for.
Yeah. What role? So since AI is like in our lives with websites now, do you think that Google My Business is playing a role in how AI is pulling data for their searches?
Yes, I haven't like read too much about that lately, but in general, what I know is that AI platforms do pull from like the same universe of, Google and search engines and having a sitemap and like the boring technical stuff in terms of SEO that your site has to have. There's also a thing called like, I think it's robots file or something like that for the AI tools. It's just that some website platforms don't automatically create these things and you have to like manually submit your site to Google Search Console, manually submit it to like the LLM platforms. Other platforms already, like the ones that I use, already have that built in, so you don't have to do much of that technical work. But the Google Business Profile situation is definitely important because of the local relevance. So even if you are, a virtual practice that you can serve the entire state, I always tell my clients, like, we still have to have your Google Business Profile. You can hide your address, but let's like pick the priority cities that we're going to build local SEO around, having reviews, which I know that you guys can't ask for reviews, but I always encourage to try and get like reviews from your peers or your colleagues. And even though it takes like 5 headaches and like, oh my God, this is like so embarrassing to ask my colleague for this, it's going to serve you in the long run because like you're just trying to use up all the layers of SEO where Google can pick you up. So, it's on your website. It can pick up if your website is optimized, you'll get picked up by AI. If someone is searching for a physical office, you'll appear through Google Maps. And I think that in all the algorithms that are meshed together of how AI works, it definitely does consider a lot of the authority that a website has to recommend things to people. So we'll definitely look at, is this practice like being recommended? Does this practice have reviews? How long has this been active for? Like, it'll probably look for the descriptions and like, and make sure that like in your Google Business Profile, you can list your services with like titles and descriptions. So even though it's boring to do that, but it'll take you 1 minute to do, having that will give a lot of like context that like the robots on the internet can like read and, scrape and understand what your site is about. So I do definitely think that it's still a must have and it's not going to stop being important. I don't think people read Google My Business posts, honestly, but like I do think that having them serves you because of what we're discussing. Like the more content that there is, the more these platforms will be like having information to read from and to reference for what users are searching for.
I totally agree. I've never read a Google Business post. I see Google Businesses and I look at the reviews, never read a post.
Yeah, never. It's never going to be like a social media platform at all. I think they even have a feature now that I discovered this year that you can have like recurring posts, but it's just a matter of like having your profile like filled up with like all the content, as much content as possible for SEO purposes, really, not really for like human engagement.
The users. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
For folks that maybe are like just starting off in their practice, what do you see as like a timeline for SEO and like the AI searches to start to pick them up? Or are you seeing that people can do anything to sort of like expedite this process?
Yeah. So I think that like the really hard truth to like understand, even though I'm a professional in this field, is that like SEO is slow. So it's not something that like will definitely give you results overnight. If you're looking for like really fast visibility, I think Google Ads would be a better route to like instantly turn a switch on, have like leads generated in the month. And, that comes with its associated costs. But I really love SEO because it's something that compounds. It's always going to be building up like year after year. But I definitely don't think it's going to be something that will massively like fill an entire practice in the first year. But it will become a channel where like it will give you effortless traffic if you're consistent and you're doing it year after year. And I mean, I think with your practice, you have like amazing results and you have like, 10 plus, inquiries per month. That's definitely something that people can expect to happen after several years of SEO. But I think in the first year, at least in the websites that we've managed, and with the strategy and the timeline and the amount of content that I do for my clients, because we only publish 24 blogs in a year, we can expect anything from like 10 to 30 leads generated in a year. Sometimes it can be even more, but it really depends on the local competition and like a lot of factors, because the same exact strategy, like with one website, can have a lot quicker results in one area, or in the same area, one website can even perform better just because the URL was older. So to set an example, I relaunch a lot of websites, people that come to me that already had like a Squarespace website that they maybe had been using for like 3 to 4 years. And when we have those type of scenarios where the domain already started to like pick up some authority, we often see that, okay, doing a relaunch does a reboot in their SEO, and they start getting results a lot faster because of the domain authority that they've also like grown in those years. But if it's like a really brand new baby site, like brand new URL, like you're literally new to the internet, it takes some time to build all those layers. And SEO is not just blogging, it's like building your authority online, right? And I think that that's something that people also aren't aware of. And it's like, oh, I'll just post blogs. Yes, but there's also factors that are important, just like we're mentioning the Google business profile, making sure that other sites link back to yours, looking for backlinks, and all that tedious work is like not fun at all to do, but it does also help so that your organic rankings improve over time. So it's looking at it as a holistic process that's going to be painfully slow in the beginning, but in the end, it's also going to be something that is going to like be a safety nest for your practice, where you're like getting these consistent referrals from Google, and you can like relax and not have to like rely on other channels all the time because you're investing in this channel.
Well, I think it's so important to just name that, because I know that like building marketing sustainably is not like a sexy thing to say. And I think that there's these marketers out there who are like, we will get you on the first page of Google in X amount of days or X amount of months. And it's very enticing to go that route. But I think that like the sustainability, like you're talking about in marketing, of like you're going to build this incredible foundation. And like you said, I've seen it in my practice. Like my first 2 years, I was busting out 5 blogs a week. I was on Help a Reporter Out, going on podcasts, like getting as many backlinks as I could, so that now I can cruise. Like I still do my blogs at a much lower capacity, but it continues to produce. And I think that that's like a hard thing to say and to share with people of like, yeah, this isn't going to be an overnight success, but this is like your career and this is your business, and it is going to produce.
And I love the example that you shared, because like not a lot of people are willing to do like what you did in your first year. Like 5 blogs a week is a lot of volume, right?
It's crazy.
And then it's crazy, but the good thing is that we live in the era of AI and we can do that like now. And that's something that wasn't available to us several years ago. But still, it's like you said, I'm going to go all in on this channel. I'm going to do as much content as possible. I'm going to do all the link building, and like then afterwards, the results are paying off. So you can definitely take like a slower rhythm to SEO, and maybe like the yearly growth would be slower than what you had in your practice, but still it doesn't mean that because it's slow, it's not working. And that's what I often explain to my clients. It's like, I mean, just because we're not getting right now, I don't know, consistent clicks, it doesn't mean that the SEO strategy or the foundation is wrong, because we're appearing in all these keywords. Google is understanding this. AI is going to be understanding this. And we just have to like continue doing this. So it's often looking at it like where the grass will always grow if you continue watering it. But if you just give up like any other marketing strategy, it's just not going to, work for you.
Should we talk about backlinks? Because I feel like I see people's eyes glaze over when I start talking about backlinks, but I do think that they're so important. I actually introduced in the community in the last couple months, like a community outreach, and a lot of it is like Haro and podcasts and like things that are low key, like backlink opportunities. Again, not an exciting topic, but I think it's so it just
everything in terms
so
of SEO is it's not exciting. It's super boring. it's super boring, but like I sort of became obsessed with it because I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it's not something fun to do, honestly. But yeah, we can definitely talk about backlinks. I think that with the whole conversation around AI, I've started to like become a little bit more obsessed with this now because fortunately, thanks to AI and my other side note situation with like building really thorough, skills in Claude where I can scale content faster for my clients, I started to have like more free time this year. And I was like, okay, I just have to like resolve this backlink situation for my clients too, because I have free time and I have to work now. And so instead of not like, not doing anything, why don't I start including some of the backlink work for my clients? Because I do think that like the future of, building your authority is like, I would say pasting like 50% of your energy on there and 50% blogging, because you can have 300 blogs per year. But like, if you don't invest energy in backlinks, you're going to run into like a lot of frustration. That's happened to me in the past. I mean, I've had several websites, a lot of websites with a lot of content that if you're not investing in quality sites linking back to your site and like investing in those relationships, in those interviews, or in looking for press mentions or guest posting and all of that, it's just going to be painfully more slow because AI tools and Google and like with the human first type of content, especially now that a lot of people are creating, massive content with AI. I think that there's like this, I can't explain how the algorithm works because obviously it has like, massive rules, but I do feel that they are going to be considering like, is this website like authoritative or not? And one thing that will account to that is how many other sites are pointing back to yours. Like in how many other places has this other website been cited? Like, is this a site that I can trust? And it's always going to prioritize websites that are more trustworthy than websites that are like brand new or that no one on the internet knows they exist. So it's not a fun thing to do, but it's something that is required. And I think that, yeah, like right now where my energy is at with the agency is like trying to build backlink systems for clients as well, so that we consistently, have all of that to build on top of the holistic SEO strategy. But what this means in execution is like what we like to do that are easy score backlinks is submitting your site to free directories. So there's a ton of like free directories out there that you can look for, which you have to create a profile and, add your information there. And yeah, maybe you can do it at least one time per year. And that will significantly help you. Another strategy is guest posting. So that's like looking for other websites that are willing to like have you write an article for them. But that takes like a lot of energy. So honestly, like I've tried to do guest posting, but it's something that I feel that is not, it doesn't have a lot of ROI in terms of time because you have to like pitch to a lot of websites and then a lot of them don't respond back. And so it can be a little bit tedious to go down that route. But like the tool that you mentioned, Haro, is actually like the one that I'm also using. And a lot of people use it. And I think that that's the most efficient use of your time because it's where like journalists are actively looking to, mention people. And so if you're there daily trying to spot a question that you can answer, I mean, treat it as a habit, like, every day or at least weekly, check them and you'll be scoring some backlink on a monthly basis. And then if you add that to your yearly rhythm of doing, directory submissions and then try and aim for a next number of podcasts per year, I mean, I think that could be a really good holistic approach to like just adding that to your SEO strategy so that you're consistently building that authority to your site as well.
Yeah. And I think like once you figure out kind of like you're saying, like I really prefer Haro or I really prefer doing podcasts, like it comes a little bit easier, like bake it into like your month or
Yeah.
your quarter, like whatever kind of time frame works for you. And I think just getting started and figuring out what you
Yeah.
tolerate or enjoy is kind of the
Exactly.
hurdle to get over.
Yeah, because maybe for me, it could be easy to say Haro because I'm using like a tool they have and it just made it easier for me. But like maybe for regular people that don't manage more websites, maybe just looking for the podcasts would be way more sustainable. And it's even like relationship building, right? And I think you can look for people in the mental health field or in your niche that have like big audiences and just pitch them to be on podcasts, and you can totally land at least a podcast per month. And that's like a really good way to both ways. Market your practice, showcase authority, brag about the podcast, share it on your socials, add it to your website, and it will feel more of like a ROI in your time. Maybe in the podcasting route than doing like the other tedious things. But the other tedious things, I mean, maybe if I list them in terms of boringness and like energy exchange, I would probably go with, well, podcasts are fun. I wouldn't say podcasts are boring, but I would say do podcasts first, then the directories. And then like if you have a little extra time, try and look into the hero situation.
I think that's actually a great scale, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I actually just had a colleague mention, so similar to Haro, there's a website, I'll have to include it in the show notes, I have to look for it, where it's basically Haro for podcasts. So people submit like different topics of podcasts, and then you can apply kind of like you do through Haro. So I think that's like a really interesting thing to come out.
Yeah, and there's tons of Facebook groups as well that you can like look for that. I'm in several that are always like about podcasting as well, that look for guests and find a guest. So it's just, investing quality energy into like, I'm going to do this strategy and I'm going to decide to do it at least one time per quarter, and like bake that, like you said, into your into your marketing rhythm, whatever that looks like, and just get it done. But getting it done is better than procrastinating and not doing it because of what we're saying. Like, it is important to build authority so the robots like us.
Yes, exactly. We got to get them on our good side.
Yeah. Exactly.
As far as like DIYing versus hiring out, I know a lot of therapists go into private practice and are like, I'm just going to DIY my site using like Squarespace templates, or I know there's templates you can buy online. Where would you say the line is between like, I think you should hire versus like maybe you can try DIYing if you have maybe like a certain background or experience or know kind of where to go?
Yeah, I think this is a good question because obviously like I'm a website manager and you encourage people to DIY. So it's like the perfect dilemma, right?
Yeah.
But I think that everyone is completely capable of doing SEO on their own, and SEO isn't something that's like rocket science. I mean, everybody can have the capacity to learn it and to implement it, and it won't be hard if you invest time in that. But I think that the question you should ask yourself is like, do I want my time spent doing this? Or if I hire out, like, where would I invest that time? Right. So neither answer is wrong. And I think that like, if you invest quality time in the beginning, learning the terms, learning how to SEO optimize your blog, do the checklist for every time you do a blog, and, learn AI skills so that you do it quickly and you bake it into an hour per week. That's amazing. I mean, you can do it on your own and have a lot of success with it. But like, I think that what happens with a lot of my clients, not all of them are mothers, but a lot of them are. And the personal life also comes into the equation, right? So it's like, okay, like, do I enjoy doing this activity, or am I doing it just because I have to? So if you have like the financial ability to be able to hire out a service that can take work off your plate. I mean, that can be SEO, that can be a virtual assistant, that can be someone supporting you in your practice doing work that you don't enjoy doing and that you would rather be done well. Then I think that's always going to be money well spent. And I personally, I'm someone who tends to do the DIY route, which is why I don't judge anyone who wants to do that, because that's how I learned SEO the hard way, right?
Yeah.
And I had several websites where I've, had my first 80 blogs, then my second 80 blogs. And then I'm like, learning and trying to get better. And it's just like understanding where your zone of like tolerance to frustration also comes into the equation, right? Because at the end of the day, like, if you are going to do something on your own, you're always going to be on your own. And I think that when there's also someone that is helping you oversee a strategy, it just relieves a lot of pressure, right? So I think you just have to decide where you want your energy spent, and whatever you decide to invest in, it's going to be money well spent if you are going to be using that time for other things.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And when I first started, I was like saving my pennies to have somebody build the website, because I was like, that's my limitation. I will not be building this thing. But once it's built, I can like push it. And I think just knowing where, like you said, like your limitations are and your time constraints too, because building a website is very time consuming to do it right and do it well, and really making sure you have the time to do it. And it's not going to stall your progress of opening and of starting.
Exactly. And I think also like if your personality is more like, I don't know, you love to do like networking and going to events and marketing in person and doing all those other sort of things. And then you have like your SEO taken care of. That's like a good equation and use of your time, right? Or you can go the nerdy route and like you did, and like, I'm just going to go all in and give my website, the first 2 years and blog a lot and do all this backlinking situation. And then, you'll also get the results that you want and be able to decide further down the road if that's something that you're willing to delegate in the future.
So with your agency and your expertise, do you have any insight on like red flags that therapists should look out for? Like if they're hiring an SEO agency or if agencies are like promising these really glorious fast results?
Yeah, I think it's just like a transparency of like what exactly does the whole SEO include? Because there's like a lot of agencies, like scammy agencies out there that like charge, I don't know, 500 or 1,000 even per month or more. But they say like, we'll manage your SEO, and you're like, okay, yeah, but what does that mean? And they're like, we'll be optimizing your meta titles and your meta descriptions, and we'll be like checking your rankings and doing backlink building. And then that's like, okay, cool. But if they're not publishing consistent content, like they're just going to be optimizing your meta titles and your meta descriptions. So that doesn't really, like, for me, do like a massive impact, because I mean, just optimizing a meta title and a meta description is just like if you have a 5-page website, like that's not going to give you more traffic. That's just going to like optimize it for whatever your 5 pages are. So I do think it's important to look for consistent content, a good, solid local SEO structure that will get you found in your local area. That's why in our agency, we build like 20+ page sites, because we build your specialty pages, location pages, and all of that. And a lot of websites just stay with local SEO and don't add consistent content to it. And there's like dilemmas there between SEO approaches where like, oh, like if you just have good local SEO, your Google business profile, and like all of that, and not do consistent blogging, that's it. But that's not the approach I like to follow, because of what we're talking about, the future of AI and more content and building authority. I do think that having consistent content is definitely like a priority for SEO, because even though not all of that traffic is going to be local traffic or your state traffic, it's going to help with, the topical authority, with all the context about your website and your niche, and it's going to help you long term. So I think you just need to like make sure that you are very clear on the deliverables that they're going to be having, just so that you understand like their approach to SEO. Like, okay, this agency is only focused on backlinks. So do I really want to pay all that money just for backlinks, or do I want to prioritize content creation, and maybe I can do some of the backlinks because it's something that's tedious, but that maybe I can do 4 times in a year, right? So understanding that is very, very important, so that you're not like paying for someone to just update your meta titles and meta descriptions.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Yeah, ask questions and like definitely know what you're getting into, because they are pricey. Like some of these ones that I see like the Google ads pop up for, and I'm just like, woof, that is a bill.
Yeah. Google Ads is like, I wouldn't say that I don't recommend it, but it's just like, it's important to understand in terms of investments, like anything in business, right? Like you're running a business. So where do I want my energy spent? Like, I don't want to wait for SEO. I want clients now. Okay, do Google Ads. But if you're not doing them and you're hiring that expert's going to charge, their fee for that. And on top of that, you have to have a marketing budget. And so some people get mad that they have to have a marketing budget and pay an agency, but it's the cost of doing business. I mean, if you're mad that you have to invest in your business, then maybe save a little bit before you open a private practice is what I would say to with an entrepreneur mindset, or talking to entrepreneurs, like, save until your nervous system can feel safe. Like, I have X amount to invest in my business and then do the work, because if not, you're hiring out of anxiety. And that's like another topic that I could talk about in a completely other podcast episode idea around, abundance mindset and all of that. But I think it is very important to hire from abundance and understanding that like if there's scarcity in how you're hiring things or investing in your business, it's like it's not going to be good for your nervous system, for marketing, for your energy. You have to understand what you're hiring and feel good with the investments, or save up for those heavy investments so that you feel safe in your body doing it and it's not anxiety provoking while you're growing your practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And like making the connections. Cause I know like for you and I think we had met a couple years ago through like a bundle or social media. And then I like sat on your website designs for a year before I was like, okay, like I need to get this website underway. And like everything that you had produced was just exactly like the vibe and the inclusions that I wanted with like the SEO behind it. And I think I was in your inbox every day for weeks with questions. But it was, I mean, I zero regrets. The investment made and like every single month it continues to
amazing.
like be worth it. And I think that people, like you said, like they should be making those decisions out of like abundance and not like, oh crap, I need a website. I need to just hire the first person that comes across my desk.
Yeah. And especially like, I think there's also, I mean, some people might feel like, oh, I don't know what that is. And like, don't feel bad if you don't understand some of the information of a service that you don't understand. So it's better to ask the questions and then educate yourself a little bit of like, okay, what am I hiring? Because I've had situations in the past where, I mean, it's not to complain, they're clients, but like clients tell me like, but what does like my monthly fee include again? Like what are you doing? And I'm like, are you for real? Like you don't even know what you're paying for and I'm doing the work for you. I mean, that's fine on my end, but like it is important to educate yourself on what you're purchasing so that you have, you know, reasonable expectations and you can understand, you know, what to expect around whatever you hire.
Yeah. Yeah. Read your contracts. That's a great lesson.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, please. Yes.
Do you feel like there's anything else that like we didn't cover that you feel like therapists should be walking away from this episode with in terms of like getting their SEO, getting their searchability on AI like underway and maybe things that they can do to help with that?
I think that we can just clarify a little bit like in terms of like the structure that we like to build and that I think that every therapist website should have. I think you've covered this probably obviously in other content that you have, but it's making sure that your website speaks to your ideal client and having specialty pages and location pages, and then picking where you want to build your topical authority and start your SEO strategy from there. So if you follow that route, whether you DIY or you hire out, you are going to have success with SEO. And I think that SEO is definitely like my favorite strategy for therapists. I like to say it's like a strategy for marketing for introverts because it's something that yeah, like it definitely will give you results. You just have to be patient with it and stick to it and commit to it and just treat it as like you're growing your garden online, and it's going to help you and help you get the visibility that you deserve so that people can find you.
Yeah, amazing. And I think like very motivating for people who feel like they don't have time, because I think I was just talking about this somewhere that my marketing strategy when I first started was like early in the morning during nap times and late at night. And with SEO, that's a very appropriate place to do it because nobody is tracking that you're doing it at like all hours of the night or in these like weird in between times. Like you can really do it when it suits you. And I think that that's a really cool piece.
And the benefit versus social media is that like you don't have to show your face in that content. You can create it with AI. You can do it at 3 a.m. in the morning if your kid, you know, if your kid woke you up or whatever. So yeah, you can definitely find a way to weave it into your marketing rhythm in a sustainable way.
Yeah, definitely. Natalia, amazing. Where can people find you? Are you taking on new clients? Give us like all the information.
Yes, you can find me at my website, nataliamaganda.com. I have a free website planner that you can download. I also do free SEO strategy, you know, clarity calls so that you get a bigger perspective of what we just talked about, you know, like in a very specific case for your practice. And yes, I am taking on new clients at the moment. I want to manifest to manage 100 therapist websites someday. So call me.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see that day. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah. We'll build that. We'll be building that one day at a time.
Yes, for sure. Well, I will have all of that linked in the show notes for everyone. And thank you so much for being here and sharing all this wisdom with us.
Thank you. It was very exciting to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
And before I let you go for today, I do want to tell you about a few quick things. If you are listening and you are in the early stages of building your private practice, like you're still figuring out the foundational stuff, the LLC, the rates, the systems, getting your first clients in the door, I have a course for you called the Complete Launch Kit. This is a step-by-step program with 65 lessons that walks you through everything in the right order so you're not piecing it together from 1,000 different places. It covers forming your business structure, setting your rates, getting your systems in place, building a basic marketing foundation, and seeing your very first client. If you are in this stage of practice building, that is the best place to start, and it will be linked right in the show notes. And you may have heard me mention it throughout this episode, but if you already have a practice and your marketing feels inconsistent, you feel like you know that you need to address your SEO, but you're not sure where to start. You know you need to be blogging. You know that you need to be doing these outreaches for your backlinks. That is exactly what my Therapist HQ community is for. This is a private community for private practice therapists, and every single week you are going to get a weekly marketing drop. And this includes social media prompts with examples, audio, text templates, and a prompt that you can put into your custom sidekick to help you with the content creation. You are also going to get 2 blog post ideas and templates every single week and a community outreach template so we can work on those backlinks. Inside the community, you also have access to a library of expert trainings. You can have your website and directory reviewed from me at any time. And you'll have access to a custom AI sidekick, which, like I said, will help you create this content, your blog posts, recycle them into Google My Business posts, and anything that you need for a sidekick on your marketing journey. You will get all of this for just $37 a month. And I will have that linked in the show notes as well. And as always, if this was helpful for you, I would love, 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 and so appreciate if you would leave a comment, subscribe, and maybe share this with a therapist who also needs a weekly private practice pep talk. It is one of the best ways to get this podcast in the hands of therapists who need it most. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next one.